So some more modifications on the R34.
Yeah,
Well, it's not really modifications, it's actually restoration.
exactly. So the all subframe and everything. We will see all the parts now we changed. Actually, I haven't seen the car for 10 days. They told me it's finished now and we will see all the changed parts now.
This is going to be exciting. It's almost like a new car.
I'm so curious about the feeling.
Yes. And so we are out here at Nismo Performance Center in Tokyo. It's actually a Nissan dealer, but this dealer is a bit special. It has a history. It's actually a Nissan Prince, which was the original place that has some history with the start of Nismo itself. So we're going to have a look at some of the really interesting things in store in this Nismo Performance Center. And Nismo Performance Center is one of the authorized dealers for R35 GTRs in Japan. Not every dealer is able and authorized to sell and repair or service an R35. Of course, they specialize in all Skyline GTRs. This is probably the center that has the most experience with the old GTR. So it's going to be exciting because we just had a chassis refresh, and it's how much you spent?
Around $13,000.
Woohoo! But it's going to be worth it. We're going to be testing it and see how much of an improvement this is.
Let's get inside and I'll show you some parts.
All right, and here we are. And the first thing we see is this photograph with some GT drivers, and
Koyama-san.
you can see Koyama-san is the boss of this place, the chief engineer. And already you see Raymax, some R34 parts. And this center actually specializes in restoration of Nissan GTRs and Skyline GTRs.
Those are the most likely broken parts you need to change, probably. Those are broken examples.
So we have here the oil pump, obviously, from a Fuji Speedway run. And these are well-known weak parts in the RB26. Yes, it's not a perfect engine, but Nismo actually has a lot of parts to upgrade from the stock ones. And here you see just some examples of damage on parts that are weak. And of course here they have just about every emblem and sticker for sale, including the classic Nismo one over here. And that's the M34 direct turbo from the N1 spec, I believe, and the NER. Surge tank, Nismo suspension, which is a fixed type 1. I believe it will be their S-Tune. And over here we have other parts like the Nismo R1. Hi guys, welcome to another episode of JDM Masters, and on today's car reviews, wait, hang on. That's the same car we reviewed the last time. Well, actually today is a little bit special for Japonic and its R34 GTR. And as you can see here, there are a lot of junk parts around. So we're actually here at a Nissan dealer, which is actually old Prince, which we explain in a moment. This is the Nismo Tokyo Performance Center, where they specialize in tuning and restoration of GTRs, and not only just GTRs, but Skyline GTRs from 32, 33, 34. It is a special place compared to other dealers because of their long history with Nissan and Nismo to upgrade and restore cars for GTR owners. And our friend Jason, who you saw in our earlier video when we went to Yamanaka and Mount Fuji, had his car done here with all the suspension parts restored and replaced. And so Japonic thought, well, why not? I'm going to do the same to see if it's a new car. So we're going to be talking now with Koyama-san, who is the chief engineer of this place, and let's listen to his comments about what these parts are changed. So let's welcome Koyama-san. Today we have Mr. Koyama-san from Prince Nismo Performance Center in Tokyo. Thank you very much.
はい、ありがとうございました。
ジャポニックの34 GTR 今日もう出来上がりまして、このたくさんのパーツあるんですけど、これは何ですか？
これは足回りの、部品になります。で、スカイライン GTR はマルチリンクサスペンションというサスペンションになっていて、 サスペンションの部品点数がとても多い車です。
はい。
でその部品点数の中に、ゴムのブッシュが入っているので、この車自体の重さでブッシュがまず傷んできちゃう。
はい。
それからもともとハイパワーな 4WD なので、それが傷んできちゃうと。
はい。
でスカイライン GTR の速さの秘訣は直線だけ速いのではなくて、コーナリングも速いということです。
はい。そうですね。
はい、コーナリングを、速くするために、非常に性能のいいサスペンションを使っていますので、だいたい10年ぐらい、新車から10年ぐらい、あとはまあ10万キロぐらい走ったらこういった、交換作業が必要になります。
わかりました。これもブッシュだけじゃなくてサブフレームとアーム類たくさん、まあ、ここ並びますけれども、
はい、
あとリンクとかなぜかブッシュだけ交換できないんですか？
はい、純正部品は、ブッシュだけの部品の設定がありません。
ああ、なるほどですね。はい。
でアームとセットになっていまして、でアームと一緒に交換をしていくと。でニスモの強化ブッシュはブッシュだけでありますけども、まあ強化ブッシュじゃなくても純正のブッシュであったとしても非常に性能がいいので、純正の場合は全部、アームごと交換していくことをお勧めしています。
はい。まあそれ以外でもね、オーナーさんが多分新品のパーツ下から見ると喜ぶと思いますね。
そうですね。はい。
ほぼ新車の走りに近いになりますか？
はい。ほとんど新車の、足回りの状態に戻ると思います。乗れば誰でも分かる。
はい。
乗り心地が良くて、剛性感が上がって、なおかつコーナリングや安定感も良くなると。
ぜひぜひこれからちょっと乗ってみたいので、多分その違いがすぐ分かると思いますけれどもですね。それの、パーツチェンジと交換っていうかこれがリフレッシュという言葉ですね。
そうですね。
日本ではですね。
はいはい。
たくさんのパーツの中で一番作業が難しいのはどっちですか？
はい、
GTR の場合は。
これはこのサスペンションメンバーっていうのはサスペンションが取り付いているいわゆる、中心的な部品になるんですけど、
なるほど。こっちがボディにつながってるんですよね。
そうですね。
はい、
ボディと大きなブッシュがついていまして、ここのブッシュでサスペンション自体を支えてます。
ここがディッフがキャリアに入ってるんですよね。
はい、ディファレンシャルですね。でこれはディフのマウント。
こっちの2つ。
という形になります。でここれは部品がとても大きいのでこれをもう交換チェンジするのが一番いいんですけども、これをやる際に全部サスペンションは外さないといけない。なので、まあこれが一番肝心ですね。
はい。
はい。
作業的にもまあしやすい。
まあこれは
ブッシュ外せない。
そうですね。これをやるのはとても大変ですけども、これをやることによっての効果っていうのはとても大きいです。
はい。
はい。
その時点で一つの聞きたいんですけれども、例えば、まあもちろん日産のディーラー、そこに東京プリンツはすごく経験と技術があると思うんですけれども、例えば世界にいろんな GTR持ってる人がいるので、例えばアメリカとかヨーロッパとか、もしこの作業をやりたいとしたら取り付けの際になんかどういう、アドバイスありますか？
はい。マルチリンクサスペンションは車の走行状態を想定したサスペンションなので、1G って言って、車が実際にその車重がかかった状態のサスペンションの動きで、締め付けをしていくっていうのがとても大事になりますので、一応車の車重がかかった位置で、サスペンションをちゃんと締め付けていくということが大事ですね。
なるほど。上がった状態じゃなくてまず軽くに締めて、
そうです。下がったところできちんと締めると。 はい、
なるほど、
はい、
なるほど。
これはスポーツカーは割とみんな共通してますけど、
はい。
あとはこういうのを外すと結局フロアボディの下アンダーが出てくるので、
はい。
古いので錆が結構出てます。
うんうんうんうん。
で例えばこういうものもそうですけど、
はい
これはマフラーの、遮熱板ですね。
ヒートシールドですね。
こういうのも、はい、
おお、結構ひどいですね。
はい、錆びてます。
うん
でこういったところを、きちんときれいにした後に、防静処理錆をしないような何か塗装みたいのをしておくと車の持ちが良くなりますね。
わかりました。
はい、
34GTR の場合は工場から生産の時にコーティングされてますか？
コーティングされてますね。
はい、
コーティングというよりはペイントです。
ペイントだけですかね。
はい、
はい、海外みたいに錆止めの
錆止め
コートとかないですよね。
そう、コートはしてないですね。
はい、
ただ、錆を止めるための塗装はしてありますが、特に日本っていう国が、雨が多い国で、しかもその冬場は雪が降ったりします。スノーですね。
そうですね。
でその日本自体がわりかしその錆びやすいようなものが多いところなので、
はい、
そういう時に、
はい、
きれいにもう一回塗装をし直したりすると車の方は長持ちしますね。
そうですね。
はい、
もしそこまで全部の足回り外せば、一回フローの
そうです、はい、
ちょっとコーティングとか錆の、作業やって方がいいんですね。
はい、
なるほど。で排ガスに関しては排ガスモーターとかよく壊れますか？
排ガスモーターはそんなに壊れない。これがそうですけども、
はい、
これ排ガスの
ステーリング、
インナーソケットっていうところです。排ガスが動く部品なんですけど、
はい、
ここがピロボールになってるんですね。
なるほど。
なのでここがガタが出ます。でこのガタが出るとハンドルをまっすぐ走っていたとしてもリアだけ少し動いちゃう。これはとても多いですね。
はいはい、
タイヤが動いちゃうってことです。後ろのタイヤ、リアタイヤのみ。
はい、
はい、
もしここだけ交換して、劣化した状態でここだけ交換して結構効果出ますよね。
そうですね。はい、こういったところも効果は出ますね。
わかりました。じゃあこの以外のパーツ、他にこれからのメンテナンスなんかおすすめありますか？
そうですね。強化ブッシュ 34GTR の場合は323334っていって一番最終モデルになって、足回りも非常に良くなってます。で、良くなってるのでチェックしただけだとわからないところが非常に多いです。
そうですね。
はい、
ですね。
なので例えばハブベアリングだとかベアリングがもともと入っているような部品に関しては、
はい、
もう年数ですね。これも、サードリンクっていってハンドルを切る時のこのベアリングですけど、
はい、
こういうのもグリスが入っている、
はい、
これサスペンションパーツですけどね、
はい、
ですからどちらかというと年数、どれぐらい使っていたかっていうその年数で交換する時期っていうのを決めていった方がいいと思います。
なるほどですね。やっぱりこれのもみんな20年ぐらいですよね。
そうですね。
早めに交換した方がいいですかね。
そうです。はい。
なるほど、わかりました。最後の質問ですけれども、これは3233と34のいろんな違いもちろんありますけれども、
はい、
よく聞いてるのが32から33一番大きいの進化があるので、32の場合は特に多分アメリカの方結構買ってる人が多いので、オーストラリアもそうなんですけど、32特に32のウィークポイント弱点とかありますか
？32GTR は
せっかくここにありますけれどもね、
同じようにこれリアサスペンションメンバーですね、ここのブッシュが違ってここの中に、特殊なオイルが入ってます。 ですからここからオイル漏れしている車はとても多いですね。
そうですか。
はい
で、33はそれオイルがない。
ないです。
うん
要するにこれ
ハイドロリッ
は
クタイプ
はいまあなんていうんですかね、安定させるために中にオイルが注入されてますけど、漏れてしまうので33と34からは改良されてそこのオイルは入ってない。
なるほど、なるほど。
これは32だけ
はい。
起きる現象です。
一箇所だけですか、リアの方。フロントもあります。
後ろはい後ろのこの辺をこう見ていくとこうついているところですね。そうするとそのオイル漏れをしているのが多分こういうところから見えるはず。だからリフトアップした時に
必ずこっちチェックする。
チェックするとオイルが入っているものがなくなっちゃうとそこに空間ができるのでこうガタができちゃうね。だ割と3人は分かりやすく壊れていきます。
なるほど。
34は改良されているのでそこがオイル漏れしない。オイル漏れしないんだけど傷んでるので、チェックの仕方で、それが判断できないってことですね。
了解です。
はい。
ありがとうございます。これサブフレームで見ると結構デザインがよくわかるんですよね。
はい、そうですね。
おお、すごい。今日いろいろ教えてもらってありがとうございました。
ありがとうございました。
どうも失礼します。Now, just to understand why replacing stock parts is such a big deal is because it will make the car feel like a new car. Yes, if you have all of the suspension bushings, which is the most important link between the tires and the road and the body, and eventually your feeling of when the car steers into a corner or even on a highway, it will make a huge difference. And it's often a part that's overlooked by people who buy used cars or cars with higher mileage, thinking that if they just upgrade the parts for tuning, and the car will actually feel like new. Or actually, even if you just change the suspension without doing the bushes, your car will not feel like it was left the factory. So all these parts that we see down here are all changed, as Koyama-san has explained. As Nissan only sells the bushings with the arms, we can see here that it's basically like a new car. You can see all the shiny aluminum parts, the bushes are all fresh and they're soft and they can move and absorb road imperfection, and most importantly, transfer the tire loads and maintain the correct geometry of the suspension, and it makes the car sharper. Of course, it looks very nice. It's all shiny new stuff over here. And as an owner who would like to keep this car for a long time, it's really an impressive thing. It's also something that will make you feel good. And let's have a look underneath the chassis of the R34 GTR. Now, this is one place that compared to the older models, that the paint was said to be not really good. Paint here is really thin, but aside from that, a lot of these parts still, luckily, can be bought new from Nissan dealer. And it's not to say you can't get this from other cars, but it's getting rare these days, and a lot of makers do not actually sell these new parts. So if you're a Skyline GTR owner or owner of maybe a Fairlady, you can still buy these parts while you can, get it while it's new. All right, let's have a look also here at a very important and often ignored part of the underbody. The steering arm has a gearbox, and often these links and bushes and also these parts, the boots, these also should be replaced. Don't have to do it with the chassis refresh, but it's always important to see if these parts are broken, because grease could come out or dirt could get in and it could actually ruin the joints inside. So that's one part that's easily fixable, and it's good to check on your car. Also here, the bushings on the steering tie rods, that's another part that's easy to change. Will also make quite a huge difference. But since everything has just been replaced new, we're going to go to test drive, and I've driven this car before, and it's going to be very exciting to see how it compares to a very low mileage R34, which I've driven a little while back. So hopefully that feeling's fresh in my minds and my fingers. I'm so excited to test this out. So let's go. Now we come to one of the most important parts of this full refresh of the chassis. Koyama-san is going to put the plaque, the emblem that certifies that it's undergone the refresh program, which is a very important part of spending that money, but it also certifies that it's been done by a proper Nissan dealer. This is also very important because it's in line with the standards and technical expertise that is recognized by the factory, of course, themselves. And so this plaque is sort of like a little trophy that gives a little sense of pride for the owner. When you look at it, it's just like a little reward to remind you that this car has been refreshed and it's done. So he's cleaning up the residue sticker from the radiator support. That looks like a good spot to fit the plaque. There we go. And it fits nicely. Prince Tokyo Motorsports. Of course, this is a very intricate operation, making sure that it is straight and in line with the radiator support lines right in the center. There we go. Done perfectly. Congratulations! Your car is now certified with Prince Tokyo's parts.
ありがとうございます先生。
ありがとうございました. Thank you! Thank you. Mission complete. So after that chassis refresh, I'm going to be checking how it feels like. First of all, the first thing you'll be able to feel whether the bushings are good or not is over these road undulations, and immediately, well, from the last time we drove this car, it was after the spoon rigid collars, wasn't it? And it felt a little bit softer actually, but in the end it was less vibration, so that feeling is still there. Now we're going on the expressway, and we should be able to see the steering response during a quick lane change. Oh, there is no slack in the steering. Immediately we can feel just that crisp response. This is where it feels like a new car. You'll be able to feel it immediately, instinctively actually. Of course, if we were to drive another one with old bushings back to back, the feeling would be even more accurate. In fact, I drove Jason's car a while back, and he also had the same work done, and noticeably different from Masaki's dad's car, who still has the original bushings. Always the key point in feeling how suspension bushings will be different is when you're entering the corner, because it's all about the steering. So let's do another lane change once this car clears off. Okay, we're going to make it a bit more sharp this time. So turning into the lane, you feel okay. The car, the front responds, but turning back, you see how the difference in timing between the front and the rear is immediate. Let's do it one more time.
Wait, let me record the lane too so people see.
Alright, left and turn.
It's raining though, right? Still good.
So a good way to test the difference in response is just left lane change, left and right. When you turn the steering wheel, you turn it back. When you unwind the steering back, it feels tight. You see that? Going over that
Bumps,
bumps. Everything seems to absorb properly now.
Exactly.
This is now. Aside from that, I just wanted to say that every time you drive a Skyline GTR, there's just this special feeling that you don't get with other cars, even a Supra or an NSX. Something to do with the RB26's drone. That you can hear that. This inline six of the RB26 is a very different sound from a 1JZ or a 2JZ or even out of the BMW inline sixes. It's got that distinctive bassy drone that it's unmistakable.
I have 2JZ too, but I prefer this.
Prefer the sound of this?
100% sound of this.
So do I. So although some people who prefer the 1JZ to 2JZ, sound, but I like very much this particular, that slight kind of mid-tone, baritone. Like coming from a tuba, you know? Like that. And the steering already from the GTR is a lot more responsive and sharp than the Supra. Of course, Toyota's setting is always very mild. Even other Nissans don't feel as sharp as Skyline GTR. It's very, very sharp. I would compare it that the only other sharper car that you can find would be the Honda Type R. They've got that same feeling, that R feeling, that racy feeling. And this, as you get up to about 4,000 RPM, that it's got this special feeling, always. How do you feel as a passenger?
It's great on the side. I feel really nice. I'm gonna close my mouth and not to laugh, but yeah, it feels nice.
You know, you just can't help smiling, right?
Yeah.
You just feel that the car is just given a new lease of life.
Exactly.
Okay, that was a hard bump. So your suspension is a lot stiffer than the stock car. It's also a lot lower. As we're recovering from that initial jump, as the car is jolted upwards and coming at that rebound, and you feel that?
Yeah.
There is much less sort of micro vibrations you can feel through the body. Everything is well absorbed, it's like one solid piece. This is how a new car would
You don't hear any random noises coming from here and there.
So there
When you bump.
There weren't random noises before, like some vibration kind of
Yeah,
noises.
small. No, not huge, but yeah. Especially on those bumps, not when you drive normally. Connections on the bridges and stuff, you know.
There's a particularly strange elasticity feeling. Like it's like when you have new rubber bands compared to well-stretched and overused rubber bands. The new rubber band has that faster response. You pull it and you let go, it snaps back into its original state quicker and firmer, right?
Yeah, exactly.
This is how I would describe the suspension feeling. Even though the suspension is stiff, but it still feels comfortable.
Exactly.
It still feels very, very comfortable. That's how new cars would feel. And this is not the upgraded Nismo one, it's just a stock Nissan.
Yeah, it's not Nissan.
Because the GTR ones are already a lot stiffer than the normal ones. So, go. Exit.
Exactly.
Another diagonal one. Ooh, you felt that? That felt nice. That felt. Okay, we're gonna go to a corner third gear. It's gonna turn the steering wheel and see how the rear. We're gonna push a little bit here. So when I was going around that high-speed curve, I put the accelerator down a little bit, and you felt how the rear was nicely just moving, following the front.
Yeah. It's just super fun, not scary.
It felt scary, yeah. It feels very stable, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Very, very stable. It's been a very interesting experience, and I must say, a very nice one to feel an old car being refreshed again to this level. Of course, Japonic's GTR is one of our favorite cars that we've driven all the time. Not because it has 600 horsepower, because of that fine attention to detail that has gone through the tuning. And I think this is maybe one of the best things you've done to this car until today.
I
You agree?
Yes. So it's now time for the looks.